First to know, ecological pyramid shows the relationship between the consumer and the producer. It also shows the relative amount of energy or matter. So ayun nga, yung ecological pyramid, isa siyang graphical representation kung saan familiar ba kayo sa food chain, food web, yung ganun, saan present yung producer and consumer. Parang ganun din sa ecological pyramid, pero doon makikita natin yung amount ng energy na coming from producer to consumer. So ayun nga, punta naman tayo sa different types of ecological pyramid. First, yung pyramid of numbers. Kung mapapansin nyo sa pyramid na to, ito, from 1st to 4th trophic level, kailangan ng 8 frogs just to satisfy the 1 eagle consumer. And sa 8 frogs na yon, it consumed 29 grasshoppers. So as you can observe, yung amount ng energy is nakadepende sa bilang ng producer or ng consumer. The more the producer or the consumer is, the more the energy to gain. So yun yung sinasabi ng pyramid of numbers, yung bilang ng producer or ng consumer. Second type of ecological pyramid is yung pyramid of biomass. Ito yung graphical representation ng total dry mass per gram per square meter. Yung biomass kasi, yun yung energy na makukuha sa wood or sa animals. At yung last type is yung pyramid of energy. Dito, pinapakita lang yung amount of energy na makukuha mo sa consumer, sa producer. Yun, simply as that.
So my topic for today is all about nitrogen cycle. The main element in this cycle is atmospheric nitrogen. Atmospheric nitrogen cannot be directly used by plants or animals. So atmospheric nitrogen will undergo 5 processes. First is nitrogen fixation, second is nitrification, third is assimilation, fourth is ammonification, and lastly nitrification. Nitrogen fixation is a process in which the molecular nitrogen in the air is converted into ammonia, or known as NH3. It can undergo or it may undergo combustion, volcanic action, lightning, industrial process, or bacteria. One process is what we call nitrification. It is the biological oxidation of ammonia to nitrate, followed by the oxidation of the nitrate to nitrate. At this point, through the process of assimilation, roots absorbs nitrates and incorporate them into nucleic acids and proteins. In the process of ammonification, the animal's excreta or the fallen leaves are broken down into waste products, or known as NH3 or NH4. Last stage or last process is denitrification, the reduction of NO3 to N2. Some will absorb by plants and some are converted into atmospheric nitrogen by denitrifying bacteria and return it to the atmosphere. So next is oxygen cycle. Circulation of oxygen in various forms through nature, free in the air and dissolved in water. Plants and animals use oxygen to respire. Algae and terrestrial green plants are converted into carbohydrates during the process of photosynthesis, oxygen being a byproduct. Carbon cycle, through burning of fossil fuels, respiration of plants and animals through exhalation, burning of forests, decomposition. In that way, they release carbon dioxide. Through photosynthesis, carbon dioxide are converted converted into carbon so that it can only be used directly by plants. Phosphorus cycle. It's a cycle that doesn't involve the atmosphere. Only the lithosphere are included in phosphorus cycle. For example, rocks. Rocks are rich in phosphorus. So when the rocks dissolved by water, it assimilated by plants, consumed by animals, and make excreta or fallen leaves, decompose, break it down, then phosphates back into the soil and water, then again assimilated by plants, and the cycle goes on and on.
Ecological succession. What is ecological succession? Ecological succession is a process by which an ecological community undergoes changes following a disturbance or the initial colonization of a new habitat. Holt in 1885 is said to have used for the first time term succession, although in 1975 preferred to designate this orderly process as ecosystem development rather than the more often ecological succession. In ecological succession, they have two types. The first type is primary succession. When we say primary succession, a sequence of communities forming in an originally lifeless habitat or no soil. This is the example. What are some common disturbances leading to primary succession of an area? The first is after and volcanic eruption. Next is glaciers retreat. Next is rock slide, or maybe depends if it's just rock and soil. The next type of ecological succession is secondary succession. When we say secondary succession, a sequence of communities forming in an area with soil. Usually when a region has been cleared by a disturbance, does not destroy the soil. What are some common disturbances leading to secondary succession of an area? The first is flood, fire, hurricanes, deforestation, losing of trees after disease, and human activity. Look at this. Di ba nagkaroon ng fire? Pero habang tumatagal, bumabalik pa rin yung new habitat niya. The comparison between the primary succession and secondary succession. Sa primary succession naman, walang lupa. Tapos pioneer species, like for example, lichens, xerophytic, decomposition, humus and sand increase over time, and climax community sa secondary succession naman ay soil already exists. Next is seeds have suitable soil conditions, occurs much faster, and next is climax community. also called greensward, are areas where vegetation is dominated by grasses and other herbaceous or non-woody plants. Grassland occupy 24% of the Earth's surface. The annual rainfall range between 25 to 75 centimeters, usually seasonal. The principal grassland include prairies, Canada, USA, pampas, South America, steppes, Europe and Asia, and velds, Africa. The highest abundance and greatest of large mammals are found in the ecosystem. The dominant animal species include wild horses, asses, and antelope of Eurasia, herds of bison of America, and antelope and other large herbivores of Africa. Structure and function of grassland ecosystem. They have two components. The first component is biotic component. Under biotic component, we have producer organism. In grassland, producer are mainly grasses, though a few herbs and shrubs also contribute to primary production of mass. Some of the most common species of grasses are Bracharia, Desmodium, Cynodon, and Digitaria. The next is consumers. Under consumers, we have our primary consumers. Herbivores feeding directly on grass. These are grazing animals such as besides them numerous species of insects, termites, etc. Buffaloes, rabbit, goat, cows, and sheep are the example of primary consumers. Next consumer is secondary consumer. These are carnivores that feed on primary consumers, herbivores. Like for example, jackals, frogs, snake, and lizard. Pag sinama ng carnivorous, yung usually kinakain ng meat. Tertiary consumers. These include hawk, etc., which feed on secondary consumers. Yung tertiary consumer naman, kinakain na yung secondary consumers. Example nyo ay hawk. The next is decomposers. These include wide variety of subtropic microorganisms like bacteria, fungi, actinomycetes. The next component is abiotic component. These include basic inorganic and organic compounds present in the soil and aerial environment. These essential elements like carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur, etc. are supplied by water, nitrogen, nitrates, sulfates, phosphates present in soil and atmosphere. Desert ecosystem. A desert is a landscape or region that receive almost no precipitations. Deserts are defined as areas with an average annual precipitation of less than 250 millimeters per year. It occupies about 17% of the Earth's surface. Deserts are characterized by hot days and cold nights. The deserts of the world are mainly located in southwestern United States, Mexico, North America, Asia, Tardigrade, Tibet, and West Asia. Deserts are characterized by scanty flora and fauna. Soils of deserts often have abundant nutrients but little or no organic matter. Structure and function of desert ecosystem. They have two components. The first component is biotic component. Under biotic component, we have producer organism. In a desert, producers are mainly shrubs or bushes, some grasses, and a few trees. Dominant species include succulents or water-retaining plants adapted to arid climate or soil condition and hardy grasses. Besides, some lower plants such as lichens and mosses are also present. Next is consumer organism. These include animals such as insects, reptiles of which are capable of living in xeric conditions. Besides, some nocturnal rodents, birds, and some mammals like camel, etc. are also found. This is the example of reptiles and the camel. Due to poor vegetation with very low amount of land, organic matter decomposers are poor in desert ecosystem. The common decomposers are some bacteria and fungi, most of which are thermophilic. The next component is a biotic component. Due to high temperature and very low rainfall, the organic substances are poorly present in the soil. Thank you for watching.
Aquatic ecosystem. An aquatic ecosystem is an ecosystem in a body of water. Communities of organisms that are dependent on each other and on their environment live in aquatic ecosystem. The two main types of aquatic ecosystems are marine ecosystems and freshwater ecosystems. So first, marine ecosystems. The largest of all ecosystem covers approximately 71% of the Earth's surface and contain approximately 97% of the planet's water. They generate 32% of the world's net primary production. Marine ecosystems can be divided into many zones depending upon water depth and shoreline features. There are also many types of marine ecosystems. Salt marshes are a transition from the ocean to the land where fresh and salt water mix. Mangroves are trees or shrubs that grow in low oxygen soil near coastlines in tropical or subtropical latitude. So there's also intertidal zones, or the areas that are visible and exposed to air during low tide and covered up by salt water during high tides. Estuaries occur when there is a noticeable change in salinity between saltwater and freshwater sources. There's also lagoons, that are areas that are separated from larger water by natural barriers such as coral reefs and sandbars. There are two types of lagoons, which are coastal and oceanic or atoll lagoons. Coral reefs are one of the most well-known marine ecosystems in the world, with the largest being the Great Barrier Reef. These reefs are composed of large coral colonies of a variety of species living together. Last one is the deep sea. It contains up to 95% of the space occupied by living organisms. Now, let's move on to freshwater ecosystem. Freshwater ecosystems cover 0.78 of the Earth's surface and inhabit 0.009% of its total water. They generate nearly 3% of its net primary production. Freshwater ecosystems contain 41% of the world's known fish species. There are three basic types of freshwater ecosystems, which are lentic. It's slow-moving water, including pools, ponds, and lakes. Lotic, which are faster-moving water, for example, streams and rivers. Also, wetlands, where the soil is saturated or inundated for at least part of the time. Since we're gonna be focusing on lake and ponds, lake ecosystems can be divided into zones. The first, the littoral zone, is the shallow zone near the shore. The offshore is divided into two further zones, an open water zone and a deep water zone. In the photic zone or the open water zone, sunlight supports photosynthetic algae and the species that feed upon them. In the deep water zone or aphotic zone, sunlight is not available and the food web is based on detritus entering from the littoral and photic zones. Pond ecosystems. Ponds are small bodies of fresh water with shallow and still water, marsh, and aquatic plants. They can be further divided into four zones: vegetation zone, open water, bottom mud, and surface film. So after all of this, we ask ourselves, what is the significance of ecosystems? It provides habitat for wild plants and animals. It supports different food chain and food web. It regulates essential ecological processes and support lives. Healthy ecosystems clean our water, purify our air, maintain our soil, regulate the climate, recycle nutrients, and provide us with food. They provide raw materials and resources for medicines and other purposes. They are at the foundation of all civilization and sustain our economies. It's that simple. We could not live with these ecosystem services. They are what we call our natural capital.